Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T. I am wishing all you beautiful people a beautiful day wherever you are in the world. Please do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment, and if you want to support the work I do, please consider a membership or a PayPal donation. And with all that out of the way, let's dig in. As Chris Proudfoot wastes time playing games on YouTube channels and calling in to vote certain creators off Dolly Vision's Turtle Island, his stepson, Sebastian Rogers, remains missing. Sebastian's mother, Katie Proudfoot, waited nearly, let's say, 10 to 11 months after he went missing before turning up on the local news to talk about Sebastian, and she just recently gave some photos of Sebastian to a YouTube creator who has been sharing them every day. In those particular photos, Sebastian appears oh so happy. There's so much wrong with this whole picture. Wouldn't Chris and Katie's time be better spent hanging out with, well, maybe Chris of the mob crew and analyzing the 3 a.m. lights video and the mystery car footage to see if they can figure out who was running through the yard near their home, carrying some sort of light source, jumping over a ditch, and then hightailing it back in the direction of their house? Why don't Chris and Katie have any interest in those videos? They keep saying that they have no evidentiary value, but is that the truth? And we can now see that the mystery car turned its lights off at one point and then turned them back on, triggering a neighbor's outdoor motion lights. That certainly adds to the suspicious nature of the lights and whatever is going on there at 3 a.m. on the same day that Katie reports Sebastian missing. We can surmise that there were at least 3 people outside the Proudfoot home around 3 a.m. on that morning. You have the one person who's holding a light source who is jumping over a ditch and running back toward the Proudfoot home. You also have a second person also appearing to hold a light source who seems to be in a lookout type of role. And then you have the driver of the mystery car, which is believed to be either a Nissan Sentra or a Nissan Altima. And actually, I guess there's a fourth person if we factor in Sebastian. This is me speculating. This is my theory based on what I believe I'm seeing in these videos. Who could these people be? Who's the person running back toward the home? Who is the lookout person? And who is driving the mystery car? We know that Chris Proudfoot is tight with his family. They were with him when he was fighting with his fourth wife, Nina Gomez, over custody of their daughter, Faith. Nina has alleged that either Chris or his mother, Kathy Bowersox, literally threw baby Faith over to her. Nina also claims that Chris's sister, Melissa, told Chris to put Nina's truck in reverse in order to run over Nina. And Chris allegedly did put the truck in reverse. If all of this is true, then this family doesn't live by a strong moral code, in my opinion. So I can imagine some of them possibly assisting in a crime, allegedly, in my opinion. There's no evidence, at least that the police are saying, that happened, and nobody has been charged with any crimes so far. So now let's talk about the 3 people other than Sebastian and who they could be. We know that Katie Proudfoot was home on the night of Sunday, February 25th, 2024, into Monday, February 26th. She has admitted to being home with Sebastian. So she could be one of the 3 people, allegedly. But again, the police keep saying there are no signs of foul play. But the FBI has put out a $50,000 reward for information leading to Sebastian. That is strong evidence that they believe foul play is involved. Some of us speculate that it's Katie who is outside carrying a light source, jumping over a ditch, and then running back to the Proudfoot home. Again, it's speculation, not a fact. So who could be the person holding the second light source? That would be the person in the scout role. Let's talk about it. Let me play part of a call between the private investigator who was initially working on the case, Heather Cohen, and Chris Proudfoot's alleged boss on the St. Jude's job site.
Hello.
Hey, Jeff. Hi. My name is Heather Cohen. I'm a licensed private investigator, and I just got your number from one of the guys on the job site, said I needed to call you.
What?
Sorry?
About what?
Oh, I'm getting to that. Give me a second. I am trying to, I just want to get the logs of when Chris Proudfoot checked in and checked out of the job site on February 26th.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. On Sunday, right? That Sunday, I was able to put his fucking skirts on his trailer. I left on my holiday at 8 o'clock at night. I got back at 11:30 from the bar. He was still there at midnight. He was up at the job site at 5:15 in the morning.
This same person, either a boss or a coworker, said that Chris Proudfoot was still at the RV park near Memphis at 11:30 p.m. on Sunday, February 25th, 2024, because he supposedly saw Chris's vehicle, and Chris was then, according to this person, at the worksite at St. Jude's Hospital in Memphis at 5:15 a.m. on Monday, February 26th, the day that Sebastian is reported missing. Well, we've now heard from another of Chris's alleged co-workers that Chris's RV was never parked at the job site. This co-worker also said that nobody starts work at the St. Jude's worksite before 7 a.m. Take a listen to what local YouTuber Silver on the Scene said he discovered while visiting the worksite and speaking to one of the workers there.
Do it like this, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this up here, and that is right here, and then I'm going to throw this up there right here. Okay, so here's what we know. We're going to do this like this because I want to reveal these things to you as we go through. I'm going to keep Sebastian over here so we can see him. What did I learn? What did I learn? So here's how this came about. I made a visit to RV to make sure, an RV place in Memphis that I'd never been to see if Chris had stayed there, because based on where I was looking, it would make sense for Chris to stay there. It's the closest RV to the job site. While I was there, I learned a lot. Let's jump into it. I was able to speak to someone who worked with Chris, because Chris is not working there now. You know, one of the questions somebody asked, I was talking to more than one person. Where's Chris now? I don't care where Chris is. I'm not worried about where Chris is now until we find Sebastian. And when we do, then we'll focus on that. That's your get justice part, right? Get justice. Let's find him. Let's keep the awareness alive and find him. So what did I learn? Here we go. Diving in. Big. RV not at job site. So by coming by the job site for the first time and seeing it, my thoughts are you could not put, not just Chris, but anybody that worked there could not park their RV on that job site and just wake up and come right out and work. There's really not room for it. So talking to the person, I said, hey, could he have put his RV here? Oh, no, absolutely not. No one can. Okay, so there were a lot of comments. Oh, Chris was at the job site, his RV. It was not. Not only was it not at the job site, Chris's RV was not at the Memphis park that I was speaking to. Okay, it's about 8 miles from the job site, 6 miles from the location I was looking at when I was looking for a possible body bag. Great straight shot into the RV. From the RV to the job site, so it would make sense. And there are people that work at the job site that are staying there. We discussed Yogi and Easy Days and all these other ones, but this one, he was not there. Furthermore, the one thing I didn't discover, one thing I did not learn is where he was the night Sebastian went missing. The thoughts were this, because I asked the question, the thoughts were more than likely Yogi. Okay, but we're not 100% sure on that. Okay, what's next? Shady, not to trust. The words I was told were this: I believe he's a shady person and would not trust anything he says or does. Would not trust anything he says or does. That's really not revelation, because we've all heard him in his interviews where we see him, or where he calls into channels or podcasts, or ever how he's talking. This is allegedly in my opinion, but at the same time, I don't know Chris Proudfoot. I've never met him. I've never spoken to him. All I have to go on are his own words and behaviors. And I've said this before. Go back, find some videos. His words and behaviors make him unlikable, make him suspect in this entire scenario. Where is Sebastian Rogers? Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the one I saved. I put it kind of in the middle. Relieved at 11 a.m. Yeah, there's that pause. Let me pause a little longer. Relieved at 11 a.m. Chris was deemed unsafe on the job site. Yeah, you heard me right. Unsafe. Safety risk for himself and others. That is a big job he does. If you don't understand tower crane operator, let's just throw this picture right here back up. You see how tall these things are? You see that these buildings are made with iron. These are iron beams, steel beams that are lifted up by these cranes that Chris operates. So what I'm saying is, if you got to be clear-headed, you got to be sharp and focused. And evidently Chris is. He wouldn't be doing this job. Let's give him credit. Evidently he's sharp and focused, and he can operate one of these, because he's up there. He's way up there himself operating this thing. But on this day, ooh, we don't want that revealed. Hold on. On this day at 11 a.m., 4.5 hours. That's right. 4.5 hours after reporting his stepson missing, meaning three-way call with Katie, 6:30 a.m. Not only is he still working, he's still working at 11 a.m. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he was relieved because he was not focused. Not focused. Off. OFF. He was off. On the same day, his stepson goes missing. So he was relieved. Chris wants to tell you, everyone listen, myself and anyone who will listen, that the reason he didn't get home till 1:30 or 2, leaving the job site at 11, I don't know if he specifically said 11, but he probably did, was because no one was there to relieve him. BS. Allegedly, in my opinion, but hey, I've been told there were more than one relievers. There was at least one reliever and possibly two on the site that day. Come on, Chris. Let's move on. Arrived 6:30 a.m. Chris wants to make you believe 5:15. Why would he need to be at the jobs? Let's think about this for a second. Why would a tower crane operator, when no daylight is up, it is dark, why would he need to be on the job site at 5:15? I think you've seen some other creators go out there and see that others may show up, inside workers, drywall workers, many different types of construction people at 5:15. What I was told is there would be no reason to be there before 6:30 a.m. And then you're going to start in your crane around 7. 6:30 is when he's reporting his stepson missing. 4.5 hours later, he's relieved. Why tell us 5:15? Come on, Chris. Focus off, OFF, unlike other days. I told you, I'm going to give Chris credit. I will give people credit whenever I can. I'd like to give Chris a lot of credit. Chris, you're listening to this. Talk to me. Email me, silversonthescene@yahoo.com.
Did you hear when Silver on the Scene said that on Monday, February 26th of 2024, Chris was relieved of his work duties at 11 a.m., and that was because he was allegedly deemed to be not focused. And you cannot safely operate a big old crane when you're not focused. So why was Chris unfocused? Was he tired? Was he exhausted? If so, why? It makes me wonder if, despite everything we've been told about Chris being in Memphis when Sebastian went missing, could he have driven to Hendersonville, Tennessee, after being seen at the Yogi Bear RV park at 8 p.m. on Sunday night? Could he then have left his cell phone on there in Memphis and then traveled the 3-hour and 24-minute car ride to Hendersonville, Tennessee, possibly with a burner phone in hand? Remember, when Chris was in the military, he worked in operational planning. I think it's possible, especially if no one had eyes on Chris in the Memphis area the whole night of Sunday and into the early morning hours of Monday. Is there absolute proof, other than his cell phone's location, that Chris was in Memphis that whole time? I'm wondering. And if whatever happened to Sebastian on Sunday night into Monday morning happened at around 3 a.m. to, say, 3:30 a.m., would that have given Chris Proudfoot enough time to drive back to Memphis to start work at 6:45 a.m., maybe 7 a.m., 3:30 a.m. to 7 a.m.? If Chris drove directly back to Memphis beginning at 3:30 a.m., then yes, if he was speeding, he would have arrived there at 7 a.m. if he wasn't speeding. Is that why Chris was not focused that morning on the job site? Was he tired, maybe, from driving to Hendersonville from Memphis and then from Hendersonville back to Memphis? Allegedly. This is pure speculation. By the way, it's also being claimed and alleged that Chris and Katie Proudfoot did have security cameras inside their Hendersonville home when Sebastian went missing, but it sounds like they maybe were not working or something happened. I don't know. This is a rumor at this point. It is not verified, but if it's true, it is yet another red flag in this case. And this guy seems to be the one supporting Chris's alibi, that he was in Memphis or near Memphis at the RV park the night Sebastian went missing. But the boss claims Chris was at the job site by 5:15 a.m. That would have been before the work site ever opens, if we believe the other alleged co-worker. And it would have been dark outside. I looked up when the sun rose in Memphis on Monday, February 26th, and I looked it up on the website, time and date, and it said 6:34 a.m. is when the sun rose. Now, according to heavyequipmentcollege.edu, crane operation is ideal during daylight hours. However, there are some cranes that are designed specifically for nighttime operation, and those cranes have special lights to ensure safe and efficient operation in the dark. But I doubt Chris Proudfoot was operating that type of crane, because he was obviously scheduled to work sometime in that morning, and he was relieved of his duties by 11 a.m. So presumably he would have been working during the daylight hours in the morning and the afternoon. But again, we heard that he was relieved of his duties. So what have we learned today? We learned that it is technically possible that Chris Proudfoot could have made a round-trip drive to Hendersonville and then back to Memphis on Sunday, February 25th into Monday, February 26th, allegedly. If Chris Proudfoot was driving his own vehicle, he could have been picked up by a security camera somewhere along that route from Memphis to Hendersonville and then Hendersonville back to Memphis. If it was a different vehicle, that would be harder, but not impossible to figure out. If you guys have followed the Dan Markel case, Charlie Adelson case, you know that the two hired perpetrators, Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera, were caught driving a rented green-hued Toyota Prius as they drove past a city bus. The bus had a camera on it. The camera captured a toll transponder on the Prius in the front window. Based on that image, the police pulled all toll records for all of the Toyota Priuses heading from Miami, Florida into Tallahassee, Florida around the time of the crime. And the toll records led police to a car rental agency in Miami, where fewer than 10 rented Priuses were rented during that period. And one of those was shown to be rented by Luis Rivera. So you never know where your face inside a car may be picked up by a security camera. Chris Proudfoot's so-called boss also jumped to the conclusion that Sebastian had been unalived. Why would he say that? And remember, there's a woman who is claiming that she met Chris Proudfoot through Bumble, an online dating site, after Sebastian's disappearance. And during their date, he told her that his son or his stepson, I can't remember which one it was, had died in a car accident. Sebastian is the only son that Chris has. If true, that's a very curious story. Does it feel like Chris Proudfoot likes to talk? And there's also the fact, by the way, that he was married when he was out on that date with another woman, allegedly. Chris and Katie, if all these stories are true, do not appear to have a nice, stable union, in my opinion. If they did do something to Sebastian, allegedly, will one of them soon roll on the other? Remember, the first person to go to the police is the one likely to get a plea deal. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please smash that like button. Please subscribe. Please consider a membership, yada, yada, yada. And I will see you next time on Bedcrime Stories. Love you.